This morning on a special edition of The Dish, we introduce you to Bryant Terry. He's a James Beard Award-winning chef, educator, author, and activist. But these days, you won't find him in a restaurant. Instead, he's the chef in residence at a San Francisco museum where he celebrates the intersection of food and culture while encouraging us all to create a more equitable and sustainable food system.
I would argue that this is the recipe that's the foundation of my new book. So it's a citrus and garlic herb braised fennel.
Not many people get excited about fennel, not like Chef Bryant Terry.
Have you had cooked fennel?
I'm sure I've had it. You know, I'm cultured. You know that, right?
I do know that.
In his new cookbook, Vegetable Kingdom, his fifth to date, the James Beard Award winner presents recipes focused on some 30 vegetables.
Can you smell the anise-like?
Yes.
Flavor.
Oh, yes. Hoping to once again lure readers to the bounty of a plant-based diet.
My personal transformation, when I was in high school, it was a hip-hop song.
This is what I've been saying to you all.
Boogie Down Productions rap Beef by KRS-One.
You mind if I kick the lyrics?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so it goes like this. Beef, what a relief. When will this poisonous product cease?
Let us begin now with the cow, the way it gets to your plate and how.
21 different drugs are pumped into the cow in one big lump. It gets much more graphic, so I'm gonna stop there.
Chef Terry is unapologetically vegan. What about those folks out there who are daunted by the idea of veganism?
I tell people, just ease into it. Meatless Mondays, vegan before 6. Try maybe going 1 or 2 meals without meat. You know, I think this idea that you're gonna be missing something could be counterbalanced by really exploring all the interesting, diverse vegetables like fennel.
Fennel aside, his day job
My name is Bryant. I'm the chef in residence here in Moab.
is as the inaugural chef in residence with the Museum of African Diaspora.
I think that this museum is a symbol. It's a beacon. It's a place where I think our people can find refuge. I'm so blessed that they let me curate this.
In 2015, he was charged with expanding the conversation on African American food in a city with a rapidly declining black population.
That's what is so special about this museum to me, is that it connects all the people of African descent throughout the globe.
It's an idea close to home for a father of 2 who says he wrote his book for his daughters.
When people think about plant-based eating, so often we imagine it as these practices of upper middle class white suburbanites, right? And I think it's important for me to recognize that my introduction to these ideas came from black people.
Recipes inspired by traditional soul food, where greens and legumes were the stars.
So this is a roasted potato and cabbage dish with the carrot puree at the bottom. And we drizzle a little ginger habanero sauce on top. What do you think?
Shut your mouth. The genesis of his professional culinary education came while earning his graduate degree in history at NYU.
I was taking the subway and I see this group of young people, children, at 7 o'clock in the morning, eating chips, candy bars, drinking sodas. And it just hit me that, you know, these young people were eating, but they were eating empty calories. You know, this wasn't real food.
It was then he started Be Healthy, which helped kids make smarter choices about food. That led him to the chef's training program at the Natural Gourmet Institute. His inspiration behind it all?
So I'm also going to introduce Erica Huggins.
The woman he invited to speak at the museum earlier this month.
That I joined the Black Panther Party.
I would say Erica Huggins is one of my primary influences for wanting to start an organization that taught children about food.
Erica Huggins organized community programs as a member of the Black Panther Party, that revolutionary political organization founded in 1966 by Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton.
They were responding to police violence against black citizens right across the bridge in Oakland, California. The most important work that they were doing, which was largely done by women, they were doing everything like having ambulance services to take people to the hospital. They had free clinics. They had grocery giveaways where they were giving away thousands of pounds of groceries to low-income residents of the Bay Area. And they had a program called the Free Breakfast for Children program, whose aim was feeding young people a hot, nourishing breakfast every single morning.
Real food, like the kind from his grandfather's backyard in Mississippi, which closely resembles today's farmers markets and CSAs.
Communities really shared, neighbors shared with one another.
My grandfather would be like, I'm gonna give you a bag of walnuts, you give me some of those pears. He had so much that he would give it away to all his children. He would take the surplus to church. It was a thriving local food system, and what saddens me is when I go back there and it's just a shell of itself.
It's a nationwide problem. According to the USDA, 14 million households in America don't have access to affordable and nutritious food, which can add to dangerously high rates of hypertension, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers.
There was a study about this neighborhood, West Oakland, California, in 2008, and they found that there were 53 corner stores and liquor stores in this community, and not one single supermarket. Not one single supermarket. And so I wonder, what if we shifted that? What if we went back to that thriving local food system? How would that impact the public health in that community?
The Memphis native has partnered with allies like his mentor Alice Waters, the Berkeley food activist and owner of the legendary Chez Panisse. But ultimately, he is motivating communities to lead the charge themselves.
This food movement has just exploded. A lot of people are thinking about creative ways of kind of regaining our food system, taking it back from the multinational corporations, having local, seasonal, sustainable food systems.
And you become a food justice advocate.
Advocate, activist, it depends on who you ask. We have a history and legacy of eating, healthful foods, but because of our fast food culture, so many of us have forgotten about that. It's almost like this cultural amnesia.
For Terry, it's really about feeding the mind, body, and soul of all people.
I want people to understand the diversity and complexity of our cuisine and not just pigeonhole it. I'm helping people remember that these are our legacies, these are our histories, and it's really a matter of kind of looking back as we move forward.
And Terry really has had an impact. I mean, his work with Alice Waters from Chez Panisse, as I mentioned, he talked about that West Oakland neighborhood that didn't have a supermarket. Well, they have one now. And it's really interesting to see how motivating people to take charge can make a difference.
Good stuff.
Great piece, yeah.
Exactly. All right, thanks,
Thank
Michelle.
you.